Imagine this. You wake up one morning, the sunlight streaming through your curtains, and for the first time in years, you feel a sense of clarity. You've done everything right. You've read the books, attended the seminars, followed the morning routines, and practiced gratitude like a mantra. You've optimized your life, cut out toxic people, set boundaries, and chased your dreams with relentless determination. You've become the person the self-help gurus promised you could be: disciplined, focused, and unstoppable. And yet, as you sit there on the edge of your bed, a strange emptiness creeps in. A quiet, nagging voice whispers, "Is this it? Is this what I've been striving for?" The irony is almost cruel. You've spent years trying to fix yourself, to become better, stronger, happier. You've devoured the wisdom of countless experts, each one promising a path to fulfillment. But now, at the peak of your self-improvement journey, you feel more lost than ever. The goals you once chased with such fervor now seem hollow. The person you've worked so hard to become feels like a stranger, and the life you've built, so meticulously curated, feels like a beautifully decorated cage. How did this happen? How did the very tools designed to liberate you become the chains that bind you? This is the dark side of self-help culture, a paradox so insidious it often goes unnoticed until it's too late. On the surface, self-help is a beacon of hope, a promise that you can overcome your limitations and achieve greatness. But beneath its glossy exterior lies a more troubling truth. The relentless pursuit of self-improvement can become a form of self-oppression. It can trap you in a cycle of perpetual dissatisfaction, where you're always striving but never arriving, always fixing but never whole. Consider this. What if the very act of trying to fix yourself is the problem? What if the constant focus on becoming better, happier, and more successful is actually preventing you from experiencing the richness of life as it is? What if the self-help industry, for all its good intentions, is selling you a lie that keeps you chasing an idealized version of yourself while ignoring the messy, imperfect, and profoundly human reality of who you already are? These questions are unsettling, but they are necessary. Because the truth is, self-help culture thrives on a fundamental contradiction. It tells you that you are enough, while simultaneously convincing you that you are not. It preaches self-acceptance, yet its entire existence is predicated on the idea that you need to change. It promises liberation, but its underlying message is one of inadequacy. And so, you find yourself caught in a paradox. The more you try to improve yourself, the more you reinforce the belief that you are broken. But here's the real kicker. This paradox is not an accident. It is a feature, not a bug. The self-help industry depends on your perpetual dissatisfaction. It needs you to believe that you are incomplete, that you are lacking, that you are not enough. Because if you ever truly believed you were enough, you would stop consuming its products. You would stop buying the books, attending the seminars, and chasing the next big thing. And so, the cycle continues, a never-ending loop of striving and failing, of hope and disillusionment. And yet, there is a deeper question lurking beneath all of this, one that strikes at the very heart of what it means to be human. What are you really searching for? Is it success, happiness, fulfillment, or is it something else entirely? Something that no amount of self-improvement can ever provide? This is the great question, the one that forces you to confront the uncomfortable truth, that the answers you've been seeking may not lie in becoming someone else, but in embracing who you already are. That the path to true fulfillment may not be about fixing yourself, but about understanding yourself. And that the dark side of self-help culture is not just a trap, but an invitation to look beyond the surface, to question the narratives you've been sold, and to discover what it really means to live a meaningful life. But before we can explore that possibility, we must first understand the hidden forces that keep us trapped in this cycle. We must delve into the psychological and philosophical roots of this paradox and uncover why it has such a powerful hold on us. Only then can we begin to see a way out, a way to break free from the dark side of self-help culture and reclaim our humanity. So, let us begin. Let us peel back the layers of this paradox and confront the uncomfortable truths that lie beneath. Because the journey ahead is not an easy one, but it is a necessary one. And it starts with a single, haunting realization that the very thing you thought would save you may be the thing that's holding you back. To understand the dark side of self-help culture, we must first confront a deeply uncomfortable truth. The human mind is wired for dissatisfaction. This is not a flaw, but a feature of our evolutionary design. From the moment we became conscious beings, we have been driven by a relentless desire to improve, to adapt, to survive. But in the modern world, this innate drive has been hijacked by capitalism, by consumerism, and by the self-help industry itself. Consider the words of Arthur Schopenhauer, the 19th century philosopher who famously declared that life is a pendulum swinging between pain and boredom. According to Schopenhauer, human desire is insatiable. We are perpetually chasing something: happiness, success, love. But the moment we attain it, the satisfaction evaporates, and we are left yearning for the next thing. This is the human condition, a ceaseless striving, a never-ending quest for something just out of reach. Self-help culture exploits this fundamental aspect of our psychology. It taps into our innate dissatisfaction and offers a solution. If only you could become better, happier, more successful, then you would finally be content. But this is a trap, because the goalposts are always moving. No matter how much you achieve, there is always more to do, more to become, more to fix. And so, you are caught in a cycle of perpetual striving, always chasing, but never arriving. Carl Jung, the pioneering psychologist, understood this dynamic well. He spoke of the shadow, the part of ourselves that we reject, deny, or repress. According to Jung, the shadow is not something to be eliminated, but something to be integrated. It is only by embracing our imperfections, our vulnerabilities, our darkness, that we can become whole. But self-help culture does the opposite. It encourages us to reject our shadow, to fix our flaws, to become someone else entirely. And in doing so, it perpetuates the very fragmentation it claims to heal. This fragmentation is not just psychological, it is also philosophical. Friedrich Nietzsche, the provocative thinker who declared that God is dead, warned of the dangers of nihilism, the belief that life has no inherent meaning. In a world stripped of traditional values and beliefs, we are left to create our own meaning. But this is a daunting task, and many of us turn to self-help culture for guidance. The problem is that self-help often offers a shallow, consumerist version of meaning, one based on external achievements, material success, and personal optimization. It tells us that we can find fulfillment by becoming richer, thinner, more productive, more popular. But this is a lie, because true meaning cannot be found in external validation. It must come from within. Jean-Paul Sartre, the existentialist philosopher, took this idea even further. He argued that we are condemned to be free, that we have no choice but to create our own meaning in a meaningless world. This is both a blessing and a curse. On the one hand, it gives us the power to shape our own lives. On the other hand, it places a heavy burden of responsibility on our shoulders. Self-help culture tries to lighten this burden by offering easy answers, step-by-step guides, and foolproof formulas. But these are illusions, because the truth is that life is messy, unpredictable, and inherently uncertain. There are no guarantees, no shortcuts, no one-size-fits-all solutions. And yet, we keep searching for them. Why? Because the alternative, facing the uncertainty and ambiguity of life, is terrifying. It requires us to confront our own limitations, our own mortality, our own existential angst. It requires us to sit with discomfort, to embrace vulnerability, to accept that we cannot control everything. This is the real reason self-help culture has such a powerful hold on us. It offers a way to avoid these difficult truths. It tells us that if we just work hard enough, if we just follow the right steps, if we just believe in ourselves, then we can overcome any obstacle, achieve any goal, and live happily ever after. But this is a fantasy. And the more we buy into it, the more we distance ourselves from reality. The more we chase an idealized version of ourselves, the more we lose touch with who we really are. The more we try to fix ourselves, the more we reinforce the belief that we are broken. This is the hidden problem at the heart of self-help culture. It perpetuates the very dissatisfaction it claims to cure. It keeps us trapped in a cycle of striving and failing, of hope and disillusionment. And it does so by exploiting our deepest fears and insecurities, our fear of failure, our fear of inadequacy, our fear of being unlovable. But there is a way out. To find it, we must first understand the unseen consequences of this cycle, how it shapes not just our individual lives, but our collective reality. We must explore how self-help culture, far from being a force for good, has become a tool of social control, a way to keep us distracted, disempowered, and disconnected from our true selves. The consequences of self-help culture are not confined to the individual. They ripple outward, shaping the very fabric of society. At first glance, this may seem like an overstatement. After all, what harm can there be in people striving to improve themselves? But the truth is far more insidious. The relentless focus on self-optimization has created a culture of hyper-individualism, where collective well-being is sacrificed at the altar of personal success. Consider this. In a world where everyone is obsessed with becoming their best self, who is left to care for the community? Who is left to fight for social justice, to protect the environment, to build a more equitable society? The answer, increasingly, is no one, because self-help culture teaches us that the only person we need to worry about is ourselves. It tells us that if we just focus on our own goals, our own happiness, our own success, then everything else will fall into place. But this is a dangerous illusion. The philosopher Aldous Huxley, in his dystopian novel Brave New World, warned of a society where people are kept docile and compliant through the constant pursuit of pleasure and self-improvement. In such a world, he argued, individuals become so preoccupied with their own desires and ambitions that they lose sight of the bigger picture. They become blind to the systemic injustices that surround them, indifferent to the suffering of others, and incapable of collective action. Sound familiar? This is not to say that self-help culture is intentionally malevolent, but its unintended consequences are profound. By encouraging us to focus inward, it fosters a kind of moral myopia, a narrowing of our vision that makes it difficult to see beyond our own needs and desires. And in doing so, it undermines the very foundations of a healthy society: empathy, solidarity, and mutual care. But the consequences go even deeper. Self-help culture also shapes the way we think about success and failure. It promotes a meritocratic ideal where success is seen as the result of hard work, discipline, and positive thinking, while failure is seen as a personal flaw. This narrative is seductive because it gives us a sense of control. If we succeed, it's because we deserve it. If we fail, it's because we didn't try hard enough. But this narrative is also deeply misleading. It ignores the role of luck, privilege, and systemic inequality in shaping our lives. It ignores the fact that not everyone starts from the same place, that not everyone has access to the same resources, that not everyone faces the same obstacles. And by ignoring these realities, it perpetuates a culture of blame and shame. Those who succeed are celebrated, while those who fail are stigmatized. And in this way, self-help culture becomes a tool of social control, reinforcing existing power structures and justifying inequality. The psychological toll of this narrative is immense. When we internalize the belief that success is entirely within our control, we set ourselves up for constant anxiety and self-doubt. Every setback becomes a personal failure, every obstacle a reflection of our inadequacy. And when we inevitably fall short of our goals, we are left feeling not just disappointed, but ashamed. This shame, in turn, drives us to work even harder, to strive even more relentlessly, perpetuating the cycle of dissatisfaction and self-oppression. But perhaps the most insidious consequence of self-help culture is the way it distorts our relationship with time. In a world where every moment is an opportunity for self-improvement, where every second is a chance to be more productive, more efficient, more successful, we lose the ability to simply be. We become so focused on the future, on achieving our goals, on becoming our best selves, that we forget to live in the present. We forget to savor the small joys of life, to connect with others, to appreciate the beauty of the world around us. This is not just a personal loss, it is a collective one. Because when we lose the ability to be present, we also lose the ability to care for ourselves, for others, for the planet. We become disconnected from our own humanity and from the web of life that sustains us. And in this disconnection, we find ourselves increasingly isolated, alienated, and adrift. But there is hope. To break free from this cycle, we must first recognize the unseen forces that shape our lives. We must question the narratives we've been sold, challenge the assumptions we've internalized, and reclaim our agency. And we must do so not just as individuals, but as a collective. Because the dark side of self-help culture is not just a personal problem, it is a societal one, and it will take a collective effort to overcome it. Breaking free from the dark side of self-help culture is not a simple task. It requires a radical shift in perspective, one that challenges the very foundations of how we think about ourselves and our place in the world. It requires us to question the narratives we've been sold, to reject the illusions of control and perfection, and to embrace the messy, imperfect reality of being human. The first step in this rebellion is to recognize that you are not broken. You do not need to be fixed. This may sound like a simple idea, but it is profoundly subversive, because the entire self-help industry is built on the premise that you are lacking, that you are incomplete, that you need to become something other than what you are. To reject this premise is to strike at the heart of the system. Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, understood this deeply. In his seminal work, Man's Search for Meaning, Frankl argued that the primary drive of human beings is not pleasure or power, but meaning. He believed that even in the most dire circumstances, we have the capacity to find purpose and significance in our lives. But this capacity is not dependent on external achievements or personal optimization. It comes from within, from our ability to connect with our own values, to embrace our own humanity, and to find meaning in the present moment. This is the key to breaking free, to shift your focus from becoming someone else to being who you already are, to stop chasing an idealized version of yourself, and start embracing the messy, imperfect reality of your existence. This does not mean giving up on growth or self-improvement. It means redefining what growth looks like. It means recognizing that true growth is not about fixing yourself, but about understanding yourself. It is not about achieving perfection, but about embracing wholeness. One way to do this is to cultivate what the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche called amor fati, the love of fate. Nietzsche believed that the key to a meaningful life is to embrace everything that happens to us, the good and the bad, the joyful and the painful. Instead of resisting our circumstances or trying to control them, we should accept them as part of our story, as part of what makes us who we are. This does not mean resigning ourselves to suffering or injustice. It means finding meaning in our struggles, learning from our failures, and growing through our challenges. Another way to break free is to reconnect with the present moment. Self-help culture keeps us focused on the future, on our goals, our dreams, our aspirations. But the future is always just out of reach, and the more we chase it, the more we lose touch with the present. To reclaim our humanity, we must learn to be here, now. We must learn to savor the small joys of life, to appreciate the beauty of the world around us, and to connect with others in meaningful ways. This is where mindfulness comes in. Mindfulness is not just a buzzword or a trend. It is a powerful tool for breaking free from the cycle of dissatisfaction and self-oppression. By practicing mindfulness, we can learn to observe our thoughts and emotions without judgment, to accept ourselves as we are, and to find peace in the present moment. This does not mean ignoring our problems or avoiding our responsibilities. It means approaching them with clarity, compassion, and presence. But perhaps the most important step in this rebellion is to reject the myth of individualism. Self-help culture teaches us that we are alone, that we are responsible for our own success or failure, that we must pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. But this is a lie. We are not alone. We are interconnected, interdependent, part of a larger whole. And our well-being is deeply tied to the well-being of others. To break free, we must shift our focus from the self to the collective. We must recognize that true fulfillment comes not from personal achievement, but from connection, contribution, and care. We must learn to see ourselves not as isolated individuals, but as part of a web of life, a web that includes not just other people, but the planet itself. This shift in perspective is not easy. It requires us to let go of deeply ingrained beliefs, to challenge the status quo, and to embrace a new way of being. But it is also profoundly liberating, because when we stop trying to fix ourselves and start embracing who we are, when we stop chasing the future and start living in the present, When we stop focusing on the self and start connecting with the collective, we discover a deeper, more authentic sense of meaning and purpose. And in this discovery, we find the courage to rebel, not just against the dark side of self-help culture, but against the forces that keep us trapped in cycles of dissatisfaction and self-oppression. We find the courage to reclaim our humanity, to embrace our imperfections, and to live fully, deeply, and authentically. The ultimate truth is this: you are already enough. Not because of what you've achieved, what you've acquired, or what you've become, but simply because you exist. This truth is not something you need to earn, strive for, or prove. It is not something you can find in a book, a seminar, or a 10-step program. It is something you already possess, something that has been within you all along. This realization is both simple and revolutionary. It is simple because it requires no effort, no struggle, no self-improvement. It is revolutionary because it challenges everything self-help culture has taught you. It challenges the idea that you need to be fixed, that you need to become someone else, that you need to chase an idealized version of yourself. It challenges the belief that your worth is tied to your achievements, your productivity, or your success. And it challenges the illusion that happiness and fulfillment are destinations you can reach if only you work hard enough. The truth is, happiness and fulfillment are not destinations. They are not things you can achieve or acquire. They are states of being, ways of experiencing the world that arise when you stop chasing and start living, when you stop trying to fix yourself and start embracing who you are, when you stop focusing on the future and start appreciating the present, when you stop isolating yourself and start connecting with others. This is the paradox at the heart of the human experience. The more you chase happiness and fulfillment, the more they elude you. But the moment you stop chasing, the moment you let go of the need to be someone else, the moment you accept yourself as you are, they come to you, not as rewards for your efforts, but as natural expressions of your being. This is not just a philosophical idea, it is a neurological reality. Studies have shown that the brain is wired for presence, for connection, for meaning. When you are fully present, when you are deeply connected to yourself and others, when you are engaged in activities that align with your values and purpose, your brain releases chemicals like dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin, chemicals that create feelings of happiness, contentment, and love. These chemicals are not the result of external achievements or personal optimization. They are the result of being fully alive, fully human, fully yourself. But here's the catch. You cannot force this state of being. You cannot achieve it through effort or willpower. You can only allow it. And the way to allow it is to let go. To let go of the need to be perfect, the need to be successful, the need to be someone else. To let go of the illusions of control and certainty. To let go of the narratives that tell you you're not enough. This letting go is not a one-time event. It is a continuous practice. It is a practice of returning to the present moment, again and again. A practice of accepting yourself as you are, again and again. A practice of connecting with others, again and again. It is a practice of being, not becoming. And in this practice, you discover something profound, that the dark side of self-help culture is not just a trap, but a teacher. It teaches you what happens when you lose touch with your humanity, when you disconnect from yourself and others, when you chase illusions instead of embracing reality. It teaches you the cost of living in a world that values achievement over connection, productivity over presence, and perfection over wholeness. But it also teaches you the way out. The way out is not to reject self-help entirely, but to approach it with discernment and wisdom. To recognize that true growth is not about fixing yourself, but about understanding yourself. That true success is not about achieving external goals, but about living in alignment with your values and purpose. That true happiness is not about chasing an idealized future, but about embracing the present moment. And in this understanding, you find freedom. Freedom from the endless cycle of striving and failing, of hope and disillusionment. Freedom from the belief that you are broken, that you are lacking, that you are not enough. Freedom to be who you are, to live as you are, to love as you are. This is the ultimate truth, that you are already enough, that you always have been, and that you always will be. So, the next time you find yourself caught in the trap of self-help culture, remember this truth. Remember that you do not need to be fixed, that you do not need to become someone else. that you do not need to chase an idealized version of yourself. Remember that the path to true fulfillment is not about striving, but about being. Not about becoming, but about embracing. Not about fixing, but about understanding. And in this remembrance, you will find something far more valuable than any self-help book, seminar, or program could ever offer. You will find yourself.